Morning, everyone. Welcome. Let's scoot this over a little. Welcome to Wednesday Live, and welcome to Homebuilt Workshop. I hope you are all doing awesome this fine Wednesday morning as we get settled in to hang out and talk about cool stuff. Alrighty. Well, what are you all working on today? I'm wrapping up several projects around here. We'll get to that here just shortly while everybody settles in. For about an hour or so, we'll hang out and talk shop and answer questions and just have a good time, like we always do. We've got some coffee, like almost always. You'll notice that I'm still wearing the beanie. It's like right on the edge right now, and yeah, I think I'll still have it for at least the foreseeable future. But what are you guys up to today? I am getting ready. In case you didn't notice by the little thumbnail for this, I'm getting ready to tear into making the rosette for my acoustic guitar. I'm really close, wrapping up just a couple of projects right now, and we'll be back on the acoustic build. Brian's here. Brian says, hello, Jeff. Happy Wednesday. I hope you are well. Thanks, man. Welcome. I am well, and I hope you are just the same. Thank you, Brian, also for sharing your pictures of the Birdhouse build. That's one of the projects that I'm wrapping up. My daughter and I finished ours. We ended up making a bird feeder instead of a house, because we did a couple birdhouses maybe 2 years ago and decided to do a feeder this year. So we've got that all done, and the video is up. Well, it's not live yet, but I've got it uploaded, and I just got a few things to wrap up, and that will be going up this Saturday. I'm going to share some pictures of that as well over the next couple of days probably. And yeah, Brian says it was a really fun one. Yeah, that was really cool. I like the way the direction you went with that. Yeah, so far this has been kind of fun. Everybody has, well, not everybody, but there's been quite a few people sharing their pictures of the build on the Homebuilt Workshop Facebook group, and that is awesome. So I want to say thank you to those of you that have shared your pictures already. And if you're kind of following along and doing the build along, make sure you do post pictures and video if you're making a video for this weekend. We'll try to get everything up by Saturday, and I'm gonna have to try to take this idea a little more often. Maybe not a monthly thing, but definitely a yearly thing, and maybe a little more often than that, really, because it's kind of cool. We're all kind of working on something, a project of our own together, and I like that. Let's see. Brian says I'm going to hang feed nets from the roof corners. Oh, okay. With like some suet or something in there. Yeah, that would be cool. Kate's here. Kate says, how you doing? Longtime video watcher. I really like your videos, especially when you did your first guitar. It was cool. Well, thanks, Keith. And thanks for being a longtime watcher. I really appreciate that. Yep, I still go back once in a while and watch that video of the first guitar, of the first Barncaster. It's a cool one. I like to see like the progression and how I've progressed, I guess. But welcome. Brian says it was a good idea as it gave me a bit of a push to complete a project. Yeah, see, that's kind of the thing that I like about it. Like, we're all getting out and building something. And I want to try to keep doing something like that. You know, just a project that we can all take and put our own spin on things, and it's really cool. I want to try to it'd be nice to make it a little bit bigger event. But this kind of was just the first one, and we're kind of just getting into it. But so far, really cool. I really like it. I love seeing everybody's projects. So Brian, be on the lookout. We'll come up with some other things. We'll keep talking about this, and maybe we'll come up with some different ideas. And you know, I want to keep it to where, you know, it's a simple enough project that, you know, pretty much anybody can do. And you know, so just make a mental note if you think of something. Giovanni's here. Giovanni, what's going on? Giovanni says, hi, Jeff. Hi, Giovanni. Coffee. Spike. Spike says, hey, Jeff. What's going on, Spike? How's that build going along? I've got mine almost done. I'm going to work on it probably when we're done here. I gotta finish the setup on it and fine tune a couple of things. And yeah, I should have brought it out here with me, really, but I forgot. But so far, I'm really liking the way it turned out, and I just got to get in and enter for the Great Guitar Build-Off, and I'll put this in as my entry, I think. Brian says, sounds great. Henry's here. Henry, morning, Jeff. Henry, what's going on, man? I've been liking all the posts lately. Seems like there's been a lot more posts from the makerspace. I like that. I've got to get down there one of these days. Giovanni says, I was in bed with COVID for 2 weeks. Oh, man, I am sorry to hear that. I know the feeling. I believe, was it the end of February or beginning of March? Something like that. We had the same, and ugh, yeah. Spike says, headed to shop to fire up the computer, have a live in an hour. Picking color. Oh, you're in an hour you're going live? I might be able to tune in. I don't know. We'll see. Picking the color. Nice. Are you doing like a dye or something like that? Or not sure. That's what you have to decide, I'm guessing. Harry Dude's here. What's up? Hello all. What's going on, man? What's going on in the land of Oz? Hope you're all doing well down there. Spike says, yep, Angelus dye. Okay. That's something that I have never used. I haven't used the Angelus, like the leather dyes. I typically have used the Homestead Finishing, like the Trans Fast, the water soluble stuff. I have some Trans Tint, but it's right here. I have some of these that I've played around with, but mostly I go to the Trans Fast. I don't know, I like the way it works. And I've heard the Angelus is probably very similar. Spike says, trying to highlight the junction, fade, burst, or... I don't know. Depends on what, really what you want to get out of it, I guess. I always like multiple colors, for sure. Yep, so my GGBO build is, as you guys have seen, it's a 6-string, basically cigar box guitar. And I've got just a little bit of setup work to do on it, and that thing will pretty much be done. It's perfectly playable right now. It's just fine-tuning, you know, setting the neck relief and maybe adjusting, filing the nut and all that stuff. But I've been awkwardly strumming away on it upside down, and so far it seems to play just fine. Like I said, just a little fine-tuning adjustment. I'm going to do that this morning, and then I think once that's done, a couple things left to do with our birdhouse or bird feeder build to get that video completely ready for to go up this Saturday. And then it's back to the acoustic guitar for a little bit. I'm getting ready to make the rosette. I've got a cool piece of spalted maple, and I got to resaw this guy, and then it's time to fire up the old Dremel and use the circle cutting jig and see if we can't not ruin the not ruin the top. Let's see. Spike says, "Come on over later. Help me decide." We'll get the car warmed up. Spike, hey hairy dude. Henry says, "What do you like to eat for breakfast?" That's a great question. I think man, there's a lot. Breakfast is one of my favorite meals, actually. A lot of times during the week, I'll just have a bowl of cereal. Not quite every day, but you know, as my daughter's getting ready for school, a lot of times we'll sit down and have a bowl of cereal. Just, you know, nice, quick breakfast. Sometimes I'll even eat that for lunch. Of course, breakfast burritos. I love breakfast burritos. How can you go wrong with one of them? And the good old pancakes or waffles. That's right up there too. So, I think if I was going to choose one, I would say breakfast burrito, probably. Maybe with a pancake. And maple syrup. I always have maple syrup. Real maple syrup. Paul's here. Paul, hello all. Hello, Paul. What's going on? Are you getting caught up on your builds, projects? Harry dude. Hey, Spike. Brian says, "I cooked a full English breakfast last Sunday and it was delicious." Oh man, that sounds good. Eggs and sausage and all that. Bacon maybe. Ugh. Now I'm hungry for breakfast. Thanks a lot, guys. I'm going to have to settle for this coffee for now. We got to have coffee too. That's like part of breakfast. Ray's here. Ray says hi. Good morning, Ray. Bam. Thumbs up on the birdhouse. That's awesome. I really like the way the direction you went on that. Man, that turned out really cool. And thanks for sharing. And I think you said you're posting your video on Saturday as well. Nice. I've got mine. Mine's all uploaded. I just got a couple things to fine tune, and it'll be ready to go for this Saturday as well. We had a ton of fun. I built mine with my daughter. We were out here doing some work and having some fun, and just it was really cool. She had some great ideas for some additions to add to it, and it really turned out awesome. I'm going to be posting some pictures, a couple pictures probably over the next couple of days, and yeah, it turned out really cool. Always fun. I'm always happy when my daughter can come out here and work with me. We always have a ton of laughs, and it's just a fun time. Seeing her, learning some of the things involved with building something, and yeah, it's just really cool. So be on the lookout this Saturday. Paul says, yes, only 2 special orders left. Have all the wood parts for the GGBO guitar. Nice. Yep, I got mine. Mine's pretty well done, down to some setup work. And I guess I need to enter. I probably ought to get on that. Paul says, ash body, granadillo top, rosewood fingerboard, roasted maple neck. It sounds like it's going to be a killer build. I used some wood on mine that I've been wanting to try for a while, and finally I just said, heck with it, we're just going to do it. I used elm. Elm is not typically a wood that you see a lot in guitars, but I have quite a bit of elm. Well, I'm getting down now, but I've milled up a bunch of this stuff several years ago, and I try to use it for a lot of stuff. I really like the color once you put an oil finish on there. I like that kind of chocolatey brown, and I just thought that it would look really good with I used a cigar box for mine, and it's kind of that brown color as well, so I thought maybe the browns would kind of work together. And so far I see no issues with it. It definitely moves more in the neck than like a hard rock maple. But I put 2 carbon fiber rods in there along with the 2-way truss rod, and it seems like it's going to be just fine. Like I said, I did notice that it does move. It moves easier, I guess. And but overall, I like the feel, I like the look, and for being it's a righty and I'm a lefty, from what I can tell, it sounds just fine. And I'm pretty excited to get that one wrapped up and out there in the world. Ray says, thanks. Can't wait to watch. Right on. Thanks, Ray. It's going to be out this weekend. I'll be looking for yours as well. Backwoods Boy Small Engines. Hello from Western Pennsylvania. What's up? Shout out to Pennsylvania, my home state. What's going on? Paul says, yeah, it might do me in. I say that with everyone I tackle. That's kind of how I feel with this acoustic right now. I keep talking to a friend of mine who is a very skilled luthier and builds acoustic guitars, and he's like, it's going to be fine, it's going to be fine, but tell my brain that. Ray says, I have to get back to work. Have a great day. Right on, Ray. Thanks for stopping in, and thanks for sharing your birdhouse build, and hope you have a great day, dude. Brian says, see you, Ray. Backwoods Boy says, hello everyone, I'm new, so I'm still a stranger to you guys. There's no strangers here, we're all friends, right? Welcome, don't be a stranger. Now, don't feel like you're a stranger. We're all here, we're all trying to build stuff in our shops, whether it's a small shop, a large shop, an outside shop, whatever. We're all doing stuff, and we're all family. So, don't feel like a stranger. What kind of stuff do you do? I'm guessing small engine type stuff by the name. But I don't like to assume. Let us know. Give us a little more, I don't know what the word is. Inquiring minds want to know. On the roads, greetings from Australia, Jeff. What's going on? Australia representing. Harry Dude's here as well. You'll see him in here. He's also in Australia. I hope everything's going well. What region are you in? You don't have to tell us where exactly, but what part of Australia? Just because I'm curious. You don't have to share if you don't feel comfortable. It's okay. Henry says, any book recommendations? That's a good question. I've been on the search myself, really, for some good books. There's nothing that I'm currently reading right now, but I'd like to find some like good guitar building books. The last one I read was horrible. I hate to say that, but it was the hardest book to read and really was not at all exciting. And even though a ton of people recommend this guitar building book, but I'm not going to throw it under the bus unless someone puts it out there. But it was not an easy read, and I didn't enjoy it. I stuck with it though and finished it. But I want to find some good guitar building books that aren't like horrible to read. So at the moment, I don't have any specific recommendations. Henry, what type of book are you looking for? Are you looking for anything specific? Because I might have some tucked away in the back of my head that I've already read. Robert's here. Robert says, hello, everyone. Good morning, Robert. Backwoods Boy says, yes, small engine work and a variety of different power equipment repair. That's awesome. I also enjoy, I don't do a ton of it on this channel. I probably should, just because it's something I enjoy doing. I love working on small engines and, fixing lawnmowers, and And I can't tell you how many of them, people have said, hey, can you fix my mower? It's, something's wrong with it. And you just spend a few minutes and you get it running good, and it's just kind of cool, and something that I do enjoy. Another thing that I've been wanting to do, and I want your guys' feedback. Well, I've talked about this probably 2 years ago, just before this whole thing started about 2 years ago. I was trying to get a lawnmower racing league started here in my area, and I have a couple of lawnmowers that I got specifically, for free, basically, that I was going to build, and that whole thing kind of went and tanked. But that's something that still I think would be fun. If you guys have never seen it, this is the wackiest, the wackiest kind of event you can ever imagine. But it looks awesome, and I would love to get into that. But those were a couple of things that I got. Free mower doesn't run, and you have it running in, an hour or whatever, and yeah. Let's see here. Harry Dude says, on the roads, hello, fellow Aussie. Brian says, Henry, I enjoy the books of Peter Klein, started with 14 and continued his series. I'm not familiar with that author. On the Roads is from Melbourne. Nice. Paul says, I just got a big chunk of red Mallee burl from Australia. Oh, wow. Supposedly, it was home to a den of drop bears. Pretty gnarly. Drop bears. That name just cracks me up. So, Brett and On the Roads, do they do that? Do they actually just fall out of the trees? So, I can't imagine just walking through the forest or whatever, and a koala just falls out of it. It just makes me laugh. But do they really do that? I'm guessing they must, right? That's why they call them that. On the Road says hello to Harry Dude. Spike says, we'll be listening. Going to set up. Be on in 40 minutes. I might get there a few minutes late, but I will try. Henry says, thanks, Brian, for the book recommendations. Right on. Paul says, I used the book Guitar Making, Tradition, and Technology to help me do my first acoustic. How was it for a read? Was it like textbook boring, or was it actually interesting? I think that's what I got out of the last electric guitar building book that I read. It was kind of meant for maybe somebody just starting out, and it was really textbooky, and I didn't enjoy it. Paul says, "Oh, be right back." So and Mike's here. Mike says, "Lawnmower racing. Wow, the topics I see when I come online Wednesday mornings. You never know what you're going to get around here." You guys know I like to do a ton of different things, and really what it is not as important. Like, I don't try to stick with just woodworking, because I enjoy, as long as I'm doing something with my hands and, actually building, making, fixing something, that is really what gets me fired up. Yes, I love making things out of wood, or any other medium, but it's whatever, as long as I'm doing it with my hands, to me, that's the whole deal. And lawnmower racing just looks fun, doesn't it? Come on. Don't be shy. You can admit it. I've just said it to you guys. It's like the craziest sport ever. And I want to try it. Backwoods Boy, I just found a good video you did on an easy way to put string on my weed eater. Your video was a thumbs up. Bam! I did it with no struggle after watching, so you taught me an easier way than I was doing it. Well, right on. That's awesome. That's one of those videos. I did that, well, that was quite a few years ago, if I remember correctly. That was one of those deals that I always had struggle. I was always fighting with getting it done. And finally, when you kind of develop your own process of doing something, and that's one of those things that I just thought I'd put out there and share with the world. And yeah, that's the way I do it. That's awesome. I'm glad it was helpful. Hair Dude says they fall out of the trees only when they're drunk. Oh, that's funny. Robert, guitar related seems to be fairly comprehensive. Title is Complete Guitar Wiring by Jerry Hayes. 8.5 by 11. By 1, by an inch thick for wiring. Huh. I'm gonna have to keep an eye out. Are you guys familiar, excuse me. I don't know how many of you guys listen to podcasts and stuff, but that's one thing that, I listen to several different ones fairly often. One of my favorite ones, and of course, I'm not sponsored or anything, but just a recommendation. One of my favorite ones is the Fret Files podcast with Eric Daw. If you're not familiar with Eric, he builds guitars, repairs, does tons of repairs. I think he's out of Oregon or Washington or something like that. No, Idaho maybe. I don't remember. But I heard he's putting out a wiring schematic book, and I'll probably pick that up when it comes out. Just because, I have my go-to wiring schematics for guitars, but it would be kind of nice to get, some different ideas. Henry says, if you're ever are interested in tube amp repair design, the Electric Guitar Amplifier Handbook by Jack Darr is fantastic. Ooh. I actually would like to build an amp, and I've been thinking about doing that on this channel. Not from scratch necessarily, at least for the first one. Maybe just get an amp kit, where you have to, do all your point-to-point soldering and all that. Something that I've been thinking about, but I just haven't quite decided, if that's something that, a direction that I want to try to go. Mainly because I don't know anything about amps. So I feel like a kit would be a good way to start learning, that whole thing. Henry says, I have a hard time reading books, though. I'd rather just build. Well said, my friend. Well said, because I'm with you on that. Harry Dude says, I bought Make Your Own Electric Guitar by Melvin Hiscock in the early 90s and still haven't gotten around to building one of my own. That's the book that I was talking about. Yeah. I'll just leave it as that. Mike says, hey, I'm the same with keeping busy, especially being locked down for the past couple of years. Yeah. Yeah, as long as you're doing something, right? Just get in there, do something. Get them greasy one day and make a bunch of sawdust the next day and solder something the next day. And yeah, that's the way I am. I really don't care what it is if I'm doing it. I'm good. Backwoods Boy says, I recently subscribed to your channel. I'm super interested to watch you build some guitars. I'm also a guitar fanatic. My stepfather has given me weekly lessons. Right on. That's awesome. Yeah, well, we will definitely be building some instruments. Be on the lookout in the next couple weeks, probably. I will be putting out the video for the latest build that I finished up. It's a 6-string cigar box guitar, basically a solid body electric, but housed inside a cigar box. And I've got it pretty well done. Just got some, well, I've got to edit. The build is basically done. Got to get the video together. It won't be out for a couple weeks, but be on the lookout. We're going to do some guitar stuff. Henry says, check out the Truth About Vintage Amps podcast. You'll love it. Yes. Eric Daw, who I just mentioned, often mentions that podcast as well. Oh, Paul says, I'm back. Welcome back, Paul. Robert says, it covers different brands of guitars and also different mods for changing up the wiring to change the way they sound. I'll have to look into that one. On the Roads to Harry Dude. I have that book too. Mike says, amps, just about ready to order the Mojotone Tweed 5E3 circuit. Those are the ones that I've been looking at, some of the Mojotone. Yeah, I think it'd be fun just to build an amp, you know, even if like a Mojotone kit. Let's see. Brian says, I made a chicken pot pie casserole for dinner, so I'm off for an early dinner. Take care and stay safe, everyone. See you next time. Right on, Brian. Well, enjoy that chicken pot pie. Man, that sounds good. I like some pot pie. Thanks for stopping in, man. Have a good one. Tell everyone we all said hi over there. Spike says, waiting on the eBay delivery of mower deck bearings. Such fun. Yes. I just finished up last week, kind of getting the lawnmower ready for the season, and took it out and had to do some light work with it, and it was barely even moving out of its own way. And turns out that the belt was toast, the drive belt. So I tore it all apart and replaced had to replace the drive belt as well as the mower deck belt because I had it all apart already. And I don't know if you guys have ever replaced a drive belt on a riding lawnmower, but it's not hard really, but it's definitely a lot more involved than I suspected it was going to be. For some reason I thought I could, just take the tension off and pull the belt off. It's not, at least on my particular mower, you have to disconnect the steering, you got to pull a couple pulleys off, then you got to loosen some other pulleys, remove some springs, and finally you can worm the thing out of there and then try to hopefully remember how it goes so you can wiggle the new one back on and then reinstall or tighten up a couple pulleys, put the springs on, reassemble some other pulleys in the steering, and like I said, it wasn't difficult. It was more complicated than I thought it was going to be. But now it's done. It's a piece of cake. But I didn't have to replace the mower deck bearings. I did grease them up real good and everything seems to turn okay. So for now, we're just going to roll with it. Robert says the book has good diagrams and photos and describes what's needed to put it together. Yeah, I will check that out, Robert. Thanks for that recommendation. Spike says, I realized at 63 I was a maker. Didn't even know what it was. Been one my whole life. Yep. Before that word was cool, right? I think most of us were makers before being a maker was cool. Growing up, working on a dairy farm, that's like the ultimate definition of maker, right? 20 plus years ago, we're doing the things, and my grandpa was the same way. 2 generations before me, he was a maker. Before that word even existed. That's one of those terms that I don't mind it, right? Yeah, we're makers, but a lot of us are well past that, I think. Yep, we were makers before making was cool. Oh, that sounds like a t-shirt. I was a maker before makers were cool. I might have to make that. I like it. Robert says, hey Spike, hope your bearings show up soon and are really what you need. Yeah, that's the other thing. Talking to my brother the other day, he's also having to replace the spindle bearings for his deck, and getting them right from the dealer they're like $100 and something a piece or something ridiculous. So he ordered them, aftermarket basically, And that was his concern, that I hope they're the right ones. Burgonian, what's up? Oi, oi, oi! What's up, dude? It says today must be the Let's Go Live day. This is the 5th one in a row to pop up. Well, I'm glad you chose this one to at least to tune into. So thank you and good morning. Backwoods Boy says, nice, I will watch for that upcoming video. Haven't seen a cigar box style guitar. Sounds interesting. If you scroll back, it's probably been at least a couple years. It's a while back in the old archive of videos here on YouTube. I've done several cigar box guitars. I've done a cigar box style guitar where I built the box from scratch with a cool license plate on the top. They are a super fun style of instrument. Typically a 3-string, sometimes a 4-string. They're tuned to some sort of open tuning, whatever is chosen. But they're just really fun to play. Kind of I don't want to say kind of a bluesy sound, but a lot of times that style is what they're used for. Just super fun to play, and just a super fun thing to just have sitting next to the couch and just pick up and strum on once in a while, and really fun to use a slide because it's open tuning a lot of times. But yeah, this one that I'm going to be putting out is a cigar box, but it's a 6-string, so it's basically identical to an electric guitar. It's got an electric guitar pickup. Oh! Not to cut off that thought here, but Robert, I got to give a shout out, because I think in one of those posts where I was showing some progress or trying to figure out the pickup location, maybe it was on one of the lives, I don't remember. I think you said if you center it between the gold, the pickup, that it would look cool, and that's exactly what I did. So thanks for that suggestion. I was playing around with that, and yes, I just centered it on the gold foil. That way it's not slicing it off on one side or the other. So thanks for that suggestion. Robert says, just finally bought my first riding zero turn this season. Always used a push mower before, but at 65 overweight and lazy, it was time to start using a rider. I have a decent sized yard, and for years and years I used a push mower, and it took hours to mow. But up until I don't know 4 or 5 years ago, 3 or 4, I don't know, several years ago, we got a rider, and what a difference. Paul says, working on a dairy farm, you were maker the milk come. That too. Burjonian, that's where I learned most of what I know. All watching my grandfather banging his head on floor joists in his basement workshop. Man, are we related? Because that sounds like my grandpa. Yep, he had the basement, basically as his space, and it was a state of disarray the whole entire time, but I loved going down there. I loved working with him and watching him build things, and he taught me how to use the bandsaw and the drill press and the radial arm saw and all of that stuff. And yeah, everything jammed up in the rafters, stuff hanging down, and workbenches would cave in because it was held up with one nail. It's like barely enough to hold what it needs to. And I remember one of them was leaning like the whole entire time. And did he ever fix it? No, but we made lots of cool stuff down there. This was I don't know, 11, 12, 13 years old, something like that. And yeah, that's pretty much where you learn. Between that and then working on the farm, where you have to fix everything, or figure out how to fix everything. I got dust on me. Go figure. Yep, but that's it. Spike says, "Hey, Bill." Good morning, mate. Tony's here. Tony says, good morning from the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Good morning, Tony. How are things on the coast? You guys are probably warming up down that way, aren't you? Burjonian to Spike, you're going live, aren't you, with the stain question? Yes, Spike is going live. Basically, as soon as we're done here, Spike will be live on his channel. I'm going to try to tune in over there for a little bit and see what's happening over in Spike's world. Robert says, welcome. Burjonian, I recently watched your video on grain filler for mahogany and may try that. Any thoughts on UV stuff for it? UV, for UV like filler? Or you mean like a UV top coat necessarily? So in case you guys are not familiar, one of the, shout out to Australia. Timbermate is one of my favorite fillers for a lot of things. I don't use fillers mostly on, for normal projects, but this stuff does work awesome for grain filler on a guitar. If you've not used Timbermate, it does come in, you can get it in a bunch of different colors. It's tinted. Water it down. You can even tint it yourself if you'd like. If you need to really custom match something. I haven't had to do that myself because I've been able to find the shade that works the best, or that works pretty well. You can water this down. Take a scoop out, put it in a little dish or something, and add some water and thin it out, and basically smear it on as a thin paste. And this stuff works great for grain filler. I've also used other water-based clear fillers, but if you're looking for a colored grain filler, I definitely would recommend trying out some Timbermate. It's got a funky smell. I'm not gonna lie to you. Kind of smells like Band-Aids. You definitely know when you're using Timbermate, but this stuff works really good. And made in Australia. Where's that on here? It's on here somewhere. Yeah, made in Australia. So definitely good stuff. As far as UV fillers, to be totally honest with you guys, I've not used a UV filler myself, so I have zero experience with any UV fillers. I'm trying to think of the UV stuff that I've seen used before, and I can't think of the name of it. I can't think of what it's called. But I honestly, I don't have any experience with any sort of UV filler, so I can't give you any insight on that. Tony says, summer has arrived. Man, I wish it would here. I try not to complain, year to year about the weather, but there's something about this year that it just doesn't seem like it's ever going to end and actually get nice. But I know it will eventually, so I just try to stay positive and do what we can do. Burgonian 80 today, 80 in rain yesterday. Today 36. Oh geez, I got you. 82 days ago. Okay. 36 waiting for snow. Man, that sounds like ours. Last week we hit 82 degrees, and yesterday morning I think it was 26 or 8 degrees when I got up. Today it's finally supposed to be up around, in the 60s for a few days, but yeah. Robert says, yeah, same here. I still have a push mower, so I can mow the yard inside of my fence. Just easier than trying to mow inside a yard that has a bunch of stuff I have to mow around. Well, yeah, that is a definite advantage of a push mower. It's very easy to navigate around things. Burgonian, my plan is to paint this body like Lizzie Hale's all white Signature Explorer. Oh, cool. And you just so color doesn't really matter. You can use, you could use Timbermate on that. You could use pretty much anything. The advantage that I see to using UV stuff is the like almost instant dry. If you have sun, we don't have sun, and I don't have a UV light. But if you have either of those, I don't see any reason why you couldn't just jump to a UV cured stuff and then move on with your day. That is a definite advantage, I think, of both the filler as well as top coats. I mean, you can spray it, cure it, and move on. You don't have to wait days and weeks and ugh. Robert says 68 degrees and 20 mile an hour wind. We had like 8,000 mile an hour wind for the last 4 weeks, it seems. In fact, if you guys, when we put out the feeder video, the bird feeder, that's what we're making, the bird feeder video this weekend, at the beginning, when I'm kind of talking about the project, Haley and I are standing here. If you listen, you can hear the wind roaring outside. I was editing it, and I'm like, man, what is that? There's like a weird sound in the background. You know, I'm not outside, so it's not super wind noise, but there's just like a noise. So if you listen to that, especially with headphones, you can hear it, and you'll know that that's the ridiculous amount of wind that we had. Let's see here. Burgonian, somewhat, so not Band-Aids, but more Vegemite. I don't know what Vegemite smells like. Paul says, I just use mineral spirits and some water-based poly for my sanding filler. I have done that as well, real thin it. I've also basically wet sanded with like a poly or some sort of, whatever the finish, as long as it's a drying finish, not just a straight oil. You can sand with a high grit sandpaper and create kind of that slurry. That works into the pores of the wood and works really well too. Spike says Solar Res. That's it. Thanks, Spike. That's the one I was trying to think of. Yep. I have a video tour about it from last year. Yes, Solar Res. That's the name. What I was trying to think of. Paul says apply it and sand at the same time. It fills grain and evaporates, keeping sawdust in pores. There you go. That's what I was just talking about. Yeah, Harry Dude says definitely not Vegemite smell. I have no insight on that because I don't know what Vegemite smells like. I wonder if you can get that over here. I'd have to look that up. I'll bet you can order it. Is it any good? Harry Dude? Henry says, what kind of music do you like? And do you have a favorite guitarist? Man, you got some good questions, dude. I like a lot of... I just like music, almost, in general. Mainly what I listen to is... I'll go back and forth. I grew up at the farm, so I grew up on country music. My dad listens to that, and so that is one kind that's in my rotation. But mainly, I listen to rock and metal. Basically anything from the early '90s, Nirvana kind of stuff, all the way up to a lot of the stuff that's out right now. It can range from, just some good old rock stuff to, sometimes I got to throw on the super heavy stuff. But I feel like I have a wide range. I don't listen to, I'm not a big fan of like the pop. There's a few songs, my daughter listens to some of that stuff, and there are several songs in there that I do, that I don't mind, I guess. But mainly rock, metal, country. I like a little bit of bluegrass, some banjo picking. I like that. Not a whole lot of like, I'm not going to throw any of them under the bus, but that's pretty much catches all of them there. How's that? That's what I'm trying to say, I think. As far as favorite guitarist, I don't think I have one, to be honest. I'm trying to think if there's one that stands out. There are several that that I enjoy, but I wouldn't say that there's anybody out there that I'm just, that I want to try to. I wish I could play like so and so. Not so much. Of course, Eddie Van Halen was one of the ones that comes to mind. But I guess the answer would be I don't really have a favorite guitarist. As weird as that kind of sounds. But. Let's see. Robert says, Homebuilt Workshop, been watching some of your videos on building some of the jigs you built. Gonna try some once I get a shop built so I can make them. Right on. I got some more jigs than in the works. So if you like the jigs, a lot of people really seem to like the jigs, and that's why I always try to share, some of my ideas anyway, because you never know where seeing the way people do things spirals your own, sparks your own imagination and coming up with your own jigs. But yeah, I got some more that I'm kind of tinkering with. One of them is going to be a binding jig for cutting the binding channels on the acoustic guitar. I'm not there yet, but I did share, I think a couple weeks ago, I shared some of the prototyping that I was doing for the binding jig. But my goal with that one is I want to be able to have a whole parts list that somebody could order these parts and then basically drill a couple of holes and bolt together a binding jig. And I've got some fine tuning and some drawings to do for that, but when I do the binding tower video, that's the plan, to have a plan. Let's see. Burgonian, I was thinking more along the lines of the least amount of shrinkage over time, as the white will show the slightest imperfections. Gotcha. Least amount of shrinkage. I don't know. I've not had any negative issues using Timbermate, nor the other one that I like to use is the Crystalac water-based grain filler. I haven't seen any issues, but most of my finishes are not, well, I would say all of the ones I've done are not painted, so I can't speak on that, I guess. Robert says, really like the jig you built for the guitar neck jig. Yeah, the upgrades. I keep saying I got to get back to that. I want to make a new carriage with a couple different dimensions on there that I think will work better for my applications. But yeah, that is a cool jig. And recently, somebody emailed me and asked about the plans for that. And in the video, I mentioned that I got the plans. I actually bought the plans from my buddy Jay over at Temple Guitars. And he's still doing that. So if anybody's interested, and I don't get anything from him for recommending people, to get the plans. But he is still doing that. You basically send him your dimensions for your particular necks, and he'll customize the plan to suit your specs, basically. Obergonian says, I will check out those videos, as that was the name of the stuff I was wondering about. Yes. Rack Makes, hi! Welcome! What's going on? What's on your workbench today? Mike says, tool recommendations needed. Bandsaw and drum sanders. Ooh, fun one. Of course, I need to preface this with, it depends, right? A lot of times, myself included, and I'm not saying you are, I'm just speaking in general here for just a second. A lot of people want a hard and fast tool that they need to get that'll work for what they need. And sometimes that's not the case. It's going to matter. It makes a difference depending on space. So all I can tell you is my little bandsaw is a 10-inch Rikon benchtop bandsaw, and once in a while, it doesn't have enough capacity in both the width and definitely not the resaw height. But overall, it works really well, and I've had, well, other than it breaks blades every so often, It's been working pretty good for me. But if I had the space, I would definitely go with at least a 14-inch, possibly an 18-inch if I could. If it fits in the budget and I had the space, I would. My ideal choice, I think, would be to go with an 18-inch bandsaw. It's probably overkill for a lot of things, but I want the added resaw capacity to do a lot more things. But if you have the room, I would recommend trying to go with a 14-inch. I just think the extra capacity would work better. But if you don't, and you're looking for more of a benchtop one, you know, there are several benchtop models out there, little 10-inch ones like the one I have, and for the most part, it does okay. You have to get creative sometimes due to space, but it works pretty well for me. Drum sanders, I would say, speaking from my experience, I have a Supermax 1632 drum sander, and it's awesome. It really is. But there's always a but, right? I would say get a size bigger than you feel like you're going to need. Mainly because this one is wide enough. When I purchased this one, I bought it based on it's wide enough to send a whole entire guitar body through, and that was the only thing that I was looking. That was my like I had blinders, right? Because I wanted a drum sander, and I'm like, this one's big enough, you know, and so that's the one I picked up. There have been several occasions where if I'm trying to sand, well, even sanding these acoustic guitar parts, I pointed to them like you guys can see them, but they're they're right over there, where I have to be very careful to get it centered perfectly. If I'd have just bought the 1930 or 1936, I would have had no issues whatsoever. So try to think about the future as far as drum sanders, and if you can, buy one that's a little bigger than you think you might need, because you're going to need it at some point. So now, after having this 1632 for 4, maybe 5 years, I really wish I'd have bought at least the 19-inch. And I'm totally not against selling this one and buying one, really, because I just think having those extra couple inches is really worth it for not much more cost. But I would recommend, if you're looking for an open-ended one, definitely take a look at the Supermax. Made by Laguna. They're real good quality as far as I'm concerned. But also, there are other brands out there. I see a lot of people with Jet, or if you're looking for a closed one, I don't think it's open on one end. Powermatic makes a really sweet looking one, but definitely my biggest piece of advice would be to try to go with a larger size than you think. Man, I got behind here. I got to get caught up on comments. Sorry, guys. I'm getting to you. Berjonian, I was raised on old school country. My mother had an 8-track stereo and that one tape loop all day. Swore if I ever heard Anne Murray's Snowbird. That's something I don't. Yeah, I grew up on that too. Anne Murray and, the... Oh. But I do like most old school country. Johnny Cash, Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, the old school, the outlaw country, that's what I like. Robert says, I have a Telly ash body I bought online. It's a nice one. I put ebony grain filler on the body even before I had done much sanding, then sanded off the extra. It looks pretty nice. Yes, you can do some cool stuff with contrasting filler. Harry Dude says, love my Vegemite. Grew up eating it. Also love watching people from other countries try it. Hilarious. Well, I'm going to have to do that. I'm going to have to get some and try it. Sam Packins here. Rick, what's going on? Sam Packins says, good morning, Jeff. That video on mounting the Telly style pickup was great. Nice. Yeah, that was kind of interesting when you messaged me about mounting the pickup, and I just posted that video. Paul says, gotta go. Have a great week. You too, Paul. Thanks for stopping in. Rack Makes says, I cut binding with handheld router. Yep, that's you totally can. I have done a binding channel on a solid body, flat, just fine. I'm building the binding tower because the acoustic guitar is slightly domed, and you can cut it by hand, but what you end up with is a slightly off square binding channel that you can get weird uh, some weird angles in there when you sand your binding smooth. Some areas can be super thin and some can be super wide. So hopefully this will take that out of there. Robert says using jigs on things one does over and over just makes sense to save time and effort. Yeah. Rick says I'm waiting on my order from Crystalite. Took a week to just getting in the mail. Oh, Crystalac? Is that what you're talking about? Finish? Nice. I think you'll like it. Rack says, I'm making Pilates machine for the wife. Oh, nice. Spike says, gone folks, see you in a bit when you finish up. Right on, Spike. Robert says, catch you later, Spike. Yeah, if you guys are looking for something to do after this, which we're going to wrap up here shortly, you can check out Spike's live. He's going to be live over on his channel. Rick says, I have an old 12-inch tilting head bandsaw. Not the greatest, but it gets the job done. Bam, and that's it. So when it comes to recommendations, the only thing that I do is try to tell maybe what I have, what it's good at, what it's not good at, and, just provide information because, everybody has a different need with the machines and equipment that they use. And just because I would like to have an 18-inch, that's like the wish list, right? Perfect world, big shop, lots of space. But really, what works for me right now is this little 10-inch one. So it's not so much of what you have to have. It's what works for you and what fits in your budget and what helps you get your particular job done. So, take my suggestions with a grain of salt because I am not 100%. I'm not brand loyal. Nobody has ever sent me a free bandsaw. Or any, all the machines that I have, power machines, are ones that I've bought. So I'm not saying you have to buy this brand or you have to buy that brand. I'll just tell you what I got and go from there. Senpakin says, more is better. Always go bigger than what you think you'll need. Yes, there you go. Berjonian, need to jet? Hang out with Spike a bit. Thanks for answering my questions. Right on, my friend. I hopefully will see you guys here shortly. On the road says, thanks, Jeff. Gotta go. Bedtime here. Cheers. Henry says, gotta head out. Have a great day. Right on. You guys got to split. I think we're gonna take that opportunity and wrap it up here as well. We are at the hour anyway, so now would be a good time to wrap it up. I'm gonna go try to hang out with Spike over there on his live for a couple minutes, and then I got to get to cutting this cool piece of spalted maple. See if I can make it into a rosette for the acoustic guitar build. Yes, I'm getting back to it. So I want to say thanks, guys, for tuning in, taking a little time out of your day, your morning, your evening, whatever it is, and hanging out for a bit. It's always fun. You still got a couple days if you guys want to get in on the Birdhouse build or bird feeder build. Throw something together. I don't care how simple it is. You nail a couple boards together, throw some bird food on the top, boom, you got a bird feeder. Post them over on the Homebuilt Workshop Built Not Bought Facebook page, and be on the lookout for the video for ours this Saturday. I had to think about that. So jump in, guys. I'd love seeing all your projects and kind of the build along series, and we're going to do some more of that. So don't worry if you weren't able to get in on this build. We're going to try to keep this rolling because I really like that we're all kind of doing a build along of some sort of project. So thanks a lot, guys. You still got time. Build you a feeder or a birdhouse. But Senpakin says, have a great day, folks. Harry Dude, stay well, folks. Catch you next week. Rec Makes, see you next week. Robert says, might check out the Grizzly brand of woodworking and metalworking tools. They have done some good ones. Yes, they have. Senpakin says, where's Spike's page? I think if you search for Spike Frugal Fixer, or maybe just his whole entire username, Spike's Frugal Fixer Shop, I think that's where he is. So I'm going to go try to jump on over there. Thanks a lot, guys. This was a good one. Lots of different questions, and I really enjoyed it. So You guys stay safe, stay well, get on your shop, make something, work on something, fix something. I don't care what it is. Fix the lawnmower, fix the whatever. Just go do something. So much enjoyment in that. So thanks a lot, guys. Take care. We'll see you next time. Yeah, every time. That little X.